you have any disagreements with the show, go ahead, state your disagreements.
Here comes the big moment.
Why on a dating podcast does it have to be men against women and women against men? Why do we always differentiate?
Are you a feminist?
I wouldn't say I'm feminist.
You're probably feminist. Your friends are probably feminist. So
that was sexist. No, I'm just kidding.
that wouldn't be sexist to assert that a woman's a feminist, but and they are, by what I can gather. I mean, I want to go actually beyond just why is it between men versus women. Why did you guys like maliciously, intentionally come on the show to troll the show, to be disruptive? Like, you guys obviously had a conversation before the show with a malicious intent to come on and just be as disruptive as possible. So
that was not this.
You see how like calm the conversation has been? Like, it's been fairly respectful between us, even though we disagree on certain things. Once your friend over there left, things got really calm. This girl over here continued trolling. But I still, kind of, just kicked her off pretty calmly. Wasn't a big thing. You guys came on with the intention to be disruptive and troll. So I'm not really interested. I'm just going to outright just reject your assertion because you and your friends were completely bad faith the entire night.
What did I do?
You're just sitting there like guilt by association, quite frankly. You're sitting there, you're not providing any like pushback or criticism on your friend's behavior. You just sit there, you co-sign all their behavior. It's the total sisterhood. And yeah, you've also been kind of trolling too. So there's that.
What did I do? You could say it, I could hear you out, but I don't even hear it.
Yeah, that's cool. So when it comes to divisiveness, like in terms of disagreements, when it comes to dating or like man-women shit, we can have a polite conversation, but when your friend is being belligerent and obnoxious, yeah, that's going to like create a lot of tension and chaos for the show. So it's
like that every time though. I'm not saying just this show. I'm saying the shows that you've had.
Didn't you just say you haven't watched it?
No, I've been on
the
here
show a few
before,
times,
so I know how it is. I just don't know why. Like, I feel like if we were to be like, okay, so how can we make dating for men and women good for us both? And like collaborate on these things instead of being like, why are like we against? Like, it just seems like because it's dividing us more.
I mean, there's a couple things here. One, the show is adversarial in nature. I actually don't. This is not something I attempt to hide. I do hope to have good faith conversations. I have my positions on things, which tend to come at odds with a lot of women, not all women, but a lot of women's views on when it comes to dating. I mean, I have reasons for this. I mean, I could just say, why do you guys, have all these objections to like all of men's dating positions, like body count, preferring to date women who are not promiscuous, like who should pay, all this stuff. Like, you guys have adversarial positions, and so do we. So there's that. And then the other thing is that this is one podcast. The genesis of like the mindset that a lot of women have is steeped in feminism. Feminism is the originator of the divide between men and women. That's the genesis of the divide between men and women. And y'all are feminists, and I don't have any power if you compare the power that the feminist movement and ideology has, because it's steeped in every single realm of humanity. It's steeped in the education system, it's steeped in corporations, it's steeped in the government, it's steeped in the media, it's steeped in journalism, it's steeped in the news, it's steeped in the culture. And there's actually almost the gynocentric nature of society reflects this. Now, you might say, like, if you look at universities, for example, every single university in this country has a women's studies, a feminist studies, a gender studies program. These institutions, systemic institutions, they have power. They have million or billion dollar endowments. Every single, it's in the trillions of dollars when it comes to the power that these institutions, educational institutions have. They have, like, when it comes to their endowments, feminist brainwashing at the university level. And then it even goes into like high school, man. The teachers are already brainwashing people in this feminist nonsense. I got one podcast, my viewership is like very middle of the road for most streamers. I don't have influence. Feminism has influence. If you think I'm decisive, This is a reaction to the overreaches of feminism. My podcast is combating the false narratives and the brainwashing that feminism has inflicted upon generations generations and millions of women. Women have been, even men have been brainwashed. Women have been brainwashed by feminism. This is the counterculture. I'm combating, you think I'm divisive. I'm combating the divisive rhetoric and ideology that feminism is. I'm trying to bring things back to homeostasis. Feminism is what's fucked everything up. If you think I'm divisive, step foot in a feminist studies class and tell me that's not divisive. How you got this girl here saying that men are oppressors and women are oppressed. How's that not divisive? You tell me, are men the oppressors? Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you for proving my point. You think men are the oppressors and women are the oppressed. How is this not divisive?
Women are the oppressed. I think men are oppressed by men as well.
You
Men
saying
tell
feminism
their sons not to cry, like we were talking about earlier, and that's not right.
Yeah, so do you think teaching millions upon millions, maybe even every single woman in this country, that men are the oppressor class and women are the oppressed, what do you teach the oppressor class? Tell me. To overthrow, overcome, and by any means necessary, right? Right? Do you think that there should be a feminist revolution?
No.
Do you think you should smash the patriarchy?
No.
You don't believe? Wait, you think, just to be clear, you think men are these terrible oppressors? Men are the oppressor class?
They're terrible oppressors.
Wait, oppressors are good? Oppressors are good or bad?
They're not good.
Oh, okay. So men are bad then. You just said, no. You said that men are the oppressor class and women are oppressed. Shouldn't the oppressed class have some sort of class solidarity and try to overcome by any means necessary the oppressor class?
Yes.
Okay. So you want a gender war between men and women. I don't.
No.
I reject the oppressor-oppressed dynamic that exists between men and women. And it's actually funny, this isn't my position anymore, but You know what they want? The people in power, who have money, that's class. Now, people in my chat are going to be upset by this because this is actually a left-leaning talking point. But, there's class, and then what the people who have the power in this country, who have the money, who have the resources, they want the men fighting the women, the whites fighting the blacks, the gays fighting the straights, so that there can't be any class solidarity when it comes to the have-nots and the have-yachts. Mm-hmm. Now that I've moved more conservative,
For
the record,
I've moved more conservative, I reject that too. But I don't reject that that's what's going on, but I reject the class.
Now I have a whole nother thing, because you talked about, you said that, okay, so your audience is mostly what?
I think it's about 80% men, 20% women.
Mm-hmm.
Which
and
is the
so
YouTube demographic.
It's literally.
Are you trying to like have those women like go from feminist to not, or like what's your goal?
A lot of
with
women
it?
watch the podcast, and I've had a lot of women
And
who have
they're
reached out to me, and
converting
they've said
from
that it's changed their views on things for sure. Because, like you said, feminism is in the water that you drink and the air that you breathe. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely everywhere in our culture, and a lot of women are looking at podcasts like this, and they'll watch it and they'll watch the back and forths, and sort of definitely change their mind on a lot of things, on a lot of feminist positions.
Well, that's good. It's working for y'all, but most of them are men, and most of them love to hear how much women are degraded.
Actually, no, a lot of them are men, and a lot of
them.
them have been told for generations that they're toxic and that they're useless and that the future is female and all of these sorts of talking points. And they hear a podcast like this, and we can actually logically explain our positions. And yeah, it actually arms them with arguments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you haven't actually logically given any arguments tonight. So if you wanted to actually state your worldview in a coherent way and influence women, you should have done so.
That's your opinion.
Okay.
I mean, I do actually appreciate the question insofar as you came on with your friends and they trolled, but at least that was a question. You disagree with me, but I respect what seemed to be a genuine question. But I mean, I do have to take issue with your view that men are the oppressor class, because I mean, what is more divisive than saying men bad, men oppressors, we women, we victims, we oppressed.
Okay, I'm not saying we're victims and we're oppressed. On that one,
But I thought
on the question that you had that said, "Are we oppressed by men?" I put we're not. So I don't feel like that in this current generation. So
I mean, I don't. You did when I did ask you. You said women are oppressed, men are oppressors. I'm not going to just allow you to walk back your position now that the position is untenable.
I said men and women can be oppressed by men.
Yeah, but you're still saying men are the oppressor class and women
can oppress too. I mean,
yeah, but I mean, that still wouldn't change that you view the relationship between men and women as a oppressor dynamic. And in my view, that's like a terrible thing to teach women, and it's an awful thing to inflict upon men.
Okay, maybe that's not what I'm saying. I'm not.
That's what you're saying. Don't walk it back.
You got me.
You gotta stand on business.
I mean, you say you want to walk it back because I mean, at least from a debate perspective, your position is untenable and you're not prepared to defend your position. So, I mean, you can all you want. Feminism is divisive. It's literally divisive, and it's not. Feminism is not a science. It's literally an ideology that's been accepted into like universities that once used to be respectful, like Harvard, all the Ivy Leagues, feminist bullshit. Every single UC, every single college in the country has a feminist studies program, women's studies program.
I think it has really destroyed the family unit, feminism.
It's designed to do so.
That's actually, if you go way back into the early 1900s, one of like the, I think it was maybe in the 60s or 70s, one of the women who founded this, I'm trying to remember if it was the National Organization for Women, which was one of the biggest women's advocacy groups. I believe, is it that organization? One of the women who was involved with one of these organizations said that their goal is to destroy the concept of the nuclear family.
There's many quotes like that from many prominent feminists, and even Engels, who co-wrote the Communist Manifesto, because feminist does have a very Marxist root as well. He said that the only way for women to ever be liberated is to break from the shackles of the nuclear family, from the family. And this is what this is in the genesis of feminism. This is what they actually believed. It's that the oppressive institution is the nuclear family, and in order for women to be free, they have to break out from the nuclear family.
And during the college years and in the 20s, women in their 20s, that is when you should be having children and having a family, not searching for a career. This is what I think. I started my career later in life, after I had my children. And I feel a lot more satisfied than a lot of 20-year-olds who are looking at their careers at that age, where the childbearing age is. And later on in life, when they're ready to have children, they can't have children.
It's true.
So it is just destroying.
F them kids.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll just say what I was talking about earlier.
Care about no kids.
They've got people, whether it's corporations or people in power, however you want to look at it. They got the men fighting with the women, the blacks fighting with the whites, the gays fighting with the straights, whatever kind of intersection that you want to look at. They want you distracted. It's all divide and conquer. That's all it is. Feminism, as far as I know, wasn't it like? Is it like a CIA psyop or
Gloria
some bullshit?
Steinem, yeah.
Like, here's the reality. Feminism is inherently anti-male. So like, you want to know like why men are moving away from, well, I mean, I don't know if they've always ever been like pro-feminism, but like it's clear to me when it came to this recent presidential election, men want nothing to do with Democrats because y'all are anti-male. Like, Democrats are anti-male. You don't speak to men at all. The right, here's the difference. Oh, I heard something really good the other day. It was something like this. People on the left or Democrats say men, hold on, hide that because they're going to be distracted. Hide it. I'll pull it back up later. They say that men, you don't have any problems. You are the problem. That's what leftists and Democrats say. And the right says, men, you do have problems. We don't have any solutions for you. So I think both parties, they don't really do anything for men, but at least the right, at least conservatives, at least they say, we recognize that you have problems and disadvantages. And you know what? You want to know why Donald Trump is president? Because of fucking feminism and all that bullshit that comes with it. So maybe be a little bit more, don't push men away so much. That's if you want your political agenda. Like, it's funny, the Democrats used to be like for the working like the working class. They're not corporate overlords, total corporate overlords. I mean, the fucking Republicans are too, but it's different. Anyways, whatever, I'm getting into politics, fuck it.
Can I just say, can you guys admit at any point in time that women were oppressed by men? Can any point in time, can y'all admit that? Like,
it depends what you mean by oppressed.
It depends. Yeah.
Like, were we
Told to stay
inferior
home.
and whether in any type of way? Can you guys admit that?
I mean, it depends though, because like you always have to do a contrast, a comparison to what? So for example, you would probably say, and correct me if I'm wrong, that when women couldn't vote, like that's oppression. Like women were oppressed, they couldn't vote. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah.
Okay. During that same period of time, so if we go to the 1910s, do you know what happened in like the 1910s?
Yeah, wasn't it like depression after the Roaring 20? I don't know what was going on.
1914, 1918 was World War I. Up until that point, the most brutal, catastrophic war, like world war, so like involvement of
major superpowers.
Like major superpowers, a bunch of countries, 1914, 1918. I think it's like 20, sometimes I get my World War I, World War II, like casualty count mixed up. So men had to go to war and literally die. And World War I is like, the way we do warfare now is totally different. World War I, you're in a trench for 9 months. Your hearing's completely gone because there's shells, constant bombardment. It's freezing cold. You have trench foot. You've seen like half your fucking squad die of either an injury, a shell, something. Like, I don't think y'all understand how fucking brutal warfare is. So women couldn't vote, but men had to fucking participate in the most brutal, soul-crushing thing. Like, you think, I don't think you guys even understand. Like, go watch All Quiet on the Western Front. You guys don't know how brutal war is. So like, women were oppressed, men were oppressed. I think warfare, I mean, you can shake your head. Warfare is something that's been almost exclusively inflicted upon men. They were forced to do it
because they thought that women were weaker, too weak
women
to go
are
to
women
war.
are weaker than men.
We're too weak to go to war, so you guys have to go. That's not our fault.
Yeah, but some 18-year-old boy who like doesn't know shit about anything and he has zero power whatsoever, he's gonna go get sent to like, I don't know, the freaking Ardennes forest and just go get like a million bullet holes from some like German. Like, I'm just confused. Like, how is that? Like, so?
I just also think about, if we were even think about just outside of American culture, how in Muslim cultures and women are expected to cover up and not talk when men are talking, and all those little nuances of just shut the fuck up and cook and clean.
I'm talking about Western culture here.
You know, we talking about how really we be
talk about, if you talk about for example, like a place like Afghanistan, I think that you could potentially make that argument.
Okay, but if y'all want to just keep it to America, y'all haven't admitted, but at some point women were oppressed, and I think feminism and some of that oppression still lingers. Like, I mean, you guys said, I mean, we couldn't work. We couldn't work. We wasn't going to school.
So you guys
we
basically
would literally
had to
just make babies, cook and clean.
So you had to stay home while your husband went to work all day, and you had to raise the kids and look after the household.
I think it's a choice. It's also like we couldn't choose our husband too. We were giving to our husbands by our fathers.
I mean, there were like
that's oppression,
there were
bro.
Arranged marriages. I mean,
but it's like the choice, the lack of a choice. Would you rather have the freedom to choose?
Yeah, but the man was also forced too. If there's an arranged marriage, the man's also forced to marry you.
Okay, but once again, we're going back to who made the system. It's like even you saying that you're glad that there wasn't no women making the Constitution. Like, that is oppression. I know you didn't say that, but I mean, whether he was trolling or not, that is oppression, and some of that oppression still lingers. I think that I'm like
over this conversation right there. I think that like men were clearly the oppressed class throughout history when it comes to labor and when it comes to who was the primary victims of war. It's pretty clear that if you look at it just from the utilitarian perspective of like who had the most damage done to them, it was clearly men. Like there's like, it's hard to argue otherwise. Even if you look at throughout Christian Europe, they had the notion of chivalry, which is that men had to act with honor towards women. Milady, knights had to go and die for women. It's just clear that the primary victims of war have always been men, and war has been the most tragic thing to ever happen in humankind.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, like if we look back into like maybe the early 20th century, I'm getting my wires crossed. 20th century would be like the 1900s, right? 20th century, yeah. Like if you look at men who lived in Pennsylvania who worked in a coal mine, it's not clear to me if those men who die at like 40 because of black lung, but they got to work and the women had to stay home and take care of the house, where it was like the house was safe and have kids. I don't know if it's really, it seems to me like most of the women would, if you had to pick, okay, go into the coal mine and then you're going to get black lung, and the last 1 or 2 years of your life you're going to be like literally in constant pain because your lungs are all fucked up from being in the coal mine. I feel like a lot of women would be like, I'm actually okay staying at home.
I'm cool doing some dishes and stuff.
And that's true, but I think the choice is the privilege. The choice to choose between
here's the
choice.
Thing, before this, he's talking about the Industrial Revolution, right? And this is not a time where people could choose. The men had to do that, or else you won't have any money, you won't be able to survive. And then even before that, if you look at the agricultural time, before the Industrial Revolution, so over 90% of people were farmers. And this was even before the steel plow was invented. Men were just pushing shit through the fields all day, every day. And then the women were in charge of raising the children. And most, like a lot of children died at birth or died when they were young due to like various illnesses and stuff. So for much of history, men and women were kind of both in the trenches suffering together. It's only like a modern thing where people don't have to do this immense suffering and dying young and losing children and everything. This is a modern concept.
It was statistics that men had some advantages if we talk about the pay gap and everything like that. But I just think feminism is not supposed to be this huge anti-men movement, but I think it was really originally supposed to be a safe space for women to have each other's backs and not take anything that these men throw at us. It's not supposed to be anti-men. Not saying that it hasn't turned to that, but it was just supposed to be a safe space, just like how the Black Panther movement, all this is supposed to be a safe space for Black people, and other minorities have their safe spaces. That's all.
The genesis of feminism, like the early adopters of feminism, they were misandrous. Many of them hated men. Some of the most prominent feminist writers and academics, clear misandrous, clear man haters. And look, I'll take another, like, I don't think misogynists are good either, but I think there's a differential here where, like, if you ask a lot of women, like, I'm ready to, I think women are great. I don't always fully understand them, but I think women are great. I don't hate women. I think women are wonderful. I think men are wonderful. But like, if you ask feminists, man, like a lot of women, you ask a college woman, like, do we need men? Like, they have a very, even if it's a low level, kind of like negative attitude towards men, which I find incredibly objectionable. And this even low level, almost, I don't know if it's disgust or like disdain for men. It could be very low level. Oh, men suck, blah, blah, blah. Or it could be full blown, like, I hate men, or women will say, I hate men, total misandry. Look, at the end of the day, feminism is a movement that's just entirely hostile towards men. And you're not going to convince me that like feminism has ever advocated for anything when it comes to like any way in which men are disadvantaged. Feminism is a purely, at its most, I guess the most charitable, it's purely a what's the word? It's purely a woman's advocacy movement.
Yeah, it's pro women. It's not anti men. It's pro women.
But it's turned anti men though.
Some people, we have some radicals. Like there's radicals in any movement. There's radicals, of course, but that doesn't mean, that's not saying like the Black Panther is anti-white. We're pro-Black. We're giving our safety. We're giving our support to the people that need it. Like that doesn't. Would you say
then that the for example, like a racist group from throughout history who are just pro-white, like a modern day sort of white supremacist movement, would you say that they're just pro-white?
That's different. Like that's different. Because they're literally trying to lynch people.
No,
we're not trying to lynch.
They're just looking out for white interests. They're like a white nationalist, and they're just looking out for white people.
That sounds like pro-white movement to me.
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
Pro-white.
By your logic,
I didn't say anything was wrong with that. I
actually don't necessarily disagree with advocacy groups for your own kind, but it depends if your advocacy group like pathologizes others, right? So if you're looking out for, if you have like a movement that looks out for black people, they're going into black neighborhoods and trying to teach them financial literacy. Kevin Hart does a lot of this. I think he's a really good example. And he tries to go into these communities and say, hey, look, you guys are capable of more than this. Don't go to jail. Don't become incarcerated. Learn a little bit about financial literacy and aim for the stars. Get educated. That's fantastic if you're just doing it as a black advocacy group. But if you pathologize the other, that's when it becomes very toxic. And feminism from day dot did that.
We're going to do a roast session, then we're going to wrap up the show. I guess final thing to your point, like when this podcast is said and done, it's one of the there's very few like male advocacy spaces out there, very few. When this podcast is all said and done, I'm telling you, feminism is still going to have its claws in all the things I listed: education, news, media, journalism, corporations, government. Feminism is going to continue to have its claws in all that shit. And at the end of the day, feminism holds all the cards. Feminism holds everything. It's like the fucking Matrix, dude. Feminism is the machines. Like, you guys hold all the keys, all the cards. That's it. I'm one guy with a podcast. There's very, very few like male voices out there that are doing any sort of male advocacy or like anti-feminist rhetoric. It's very rare, very rare.
I just didn't understand really what the show, like, in that sense, like, it's anti-feminist for that reason, and then you feel like men have been like dragged down in that way, and you're trying to claw your way back up by having like your foot in like what you stand for.
I mean, look, feminism has just forwarded completely like fabricated ideology and positions. Patriarchy theory, that's fucking bullshit. Like all the stuff, like you guys will totally misconstrue and like twist statistics to like forward your totally false and erroneous positions. It's totally catastrophic. You basically have like generations upon generations of women who think men are these dangerous, violent rapists. And it's like absolutely disgusting. You've painted us all as predators. It's totally disgusting. I would love to have a return to where men respected women and where men respected women and women respected men. But it's clear due to feminist narratives and ideology that you've basically taught generations and generations of women to have disdain and contempt for men. That's it.
We should be cautious of men though, because who here has a creepy story about a man? I bet everybody does.
Sure.
So it's just like I mean,
I love men. And in my country, is more old-fashioned, and it's not like that. It's in America. It's completely different.
It's different.
In my country, it's not like that, and it was before like very old-fashioned, and like.
You saying men are
TTS is 20.
Where you're from? Men are gentlemen where you're from. That's what you're saying.
Yes. Because it's another rules, another life. It's more old-fashioned. And my father is a leader in my house, and everybody not like obey, but we respect him. Even today, you see, guys, I respect you very much. I want to say so much stuff. Even you say sometimes something rude to me, but I respect you, and I
appreciate that.
And I appreciate your rules and everything.
You've been very respectful. Thank you.
I do. I definitely appreciate that. And I was going to say something on this final thing before we get into guys. Roast session, $20. We'll do a brief one, then we're going to wrap the show. But it's like, man.
Roast session.
I forgot. I slipped my mind. If it comes back to me, I'll do it. One sec, guys. I'm going to get that all set up. If you want to get some roasts in here. All right. That should all be changed here in just a moment. Here. Oh, wait, one sec.
They finna make fun of us. Right?
And us.
Yeah, they make fun of me. They talk about burritos and shit, so it's all good. One sec, guys. That's almost ready to go. And I know there were some other messages that came through, so hold on. Let's enable that. Guys, like the video, please. Like the video, guys. I know we're getting towards the end of the show, so please like the video. Okay, that should all be set. All right, I'm going to let these come through.
Michael Jones donated $100. Yes, women are oppressed. They are oppressed by feminism.
That's the best argument for female oppression there is.
All right, Michael Jones, thank you so much for the $100 message, man. Really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. We have Desert Joe coming in just a moment here. So guys, I need to do this here too. Okay. Thank you, man. We have the next one coming in just a moment. $20 TTS, guys. Get them in the row session.
Desert Joe donated $100. CH1 is misguided about gender and racial oppression. It's more so class oppression. The rich/elite class oppress everyone else. They didn't care about what the race/gender of who they were oppressing.
The rich and poor obviously is a thing.
Really quick, sorry to interrupt. I just, while I remember what I was going to say. So here's the reality. Women have never been more free than today. You've never had more benefits. You've never had more privileges. You're doing your little clapping thing. That's great. You don't appreciate any of the like substantial benefits that through men's labor and through men's genius has enabled you to just live your totally comfortable and pampered life.
I do appreciate it. I do. Thank you.
You guys don't realize how, like, you guys, if we went back 150 years, 200 years, life was terribly brutal for both men and women. Like survival, food scarcity. I don't think you realize like how fucking difficult life was 150, 200 years ago. You guys live the most comfortable, pampered lives of any women in the existence of the entire history of humanity. And I just would love to see, so what you have is, women, you have the most privileged, comfortable lives you've ever had in all of human history, and you hate men the most. Wow. Women hate men more today than they've ever hated men in all human history, and I just think that's disgusting.
Because they don't feel like they have to rely on them as much because it's not ever present.
Who's hating men? I don't know.
Actually, Jake, that's a really good.
Like
I do.
We all love
So
men.
you think
Who
the people
hates
that
men?
say-
We love men.
You can't love men if you view men as oppressors. Like it does not compute. Like you literally, I'm not saying that that's your position, but like you ask most women, they're going to say, oh yeah, there's a patriarchy. We got to smash the patriarchy and men are oppressors. And I, as a woman, either am oppressed or historically women were oppressed. You got to do to your point, you got to do a comparison. Like compared to what? Yeah, women couldn't vote. Cool. Men most men never got to reproduce. A lot of men historically just went and died in wars. Most men worked brutal, back-breaking, laborious jobs, and you think like men aren't trying to oppress y'all. Men go out and work and kill themselves and break their bodies for you. They want a wife and for their kids. You think the gender wage gap, men who make more money, they're doing it all for you. They'll give your man, your husband will give you fucking everything. He'll take a bullet for you, not me. He'll take a bullet for you. Men will sacrifice their lives for you. They will work until their bones are broken and their backs all fucked up for you and your family and your children. And I just think it's disgusting that we've totally have these warped narratives when it comes to men. Anyways, I'm kind of ranting at this point, just beating a dead horse.
So you think that feminists were completely delusional when they started it? Like whoever started the feminist movement, they just came out with this
egalitarianism is where feminism comes from, and egalitarianism is inherently delusional
the physical strength
because it's impossible for human beings to ever be equal because human beings form themselves into hierarchies.
Right.
And so they're different in so many ways.
Because you guys are physically stronger than us, that we were just delusional enough to come up with this whole oppression story. Like there's no truth to it.
It wasn't a bunch of women. I know you guys want to move on, but it wasn't a bunch of women. It was a bunch of massive financial interests who wanted to bring women into the workforce so that they had more people to choose from and they had more negotiation power and a higher tax base.
That's not what they taught me in school.
All right, I'm going to let the chats come in here.